डॉक्टर बाबा साहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी.
Namaskar dear students, I Dr. Himanshu Patel welcome you from the Chaitanya studio of Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open City. We are in lecture series for the program Bachelor in Computer Application and we are in paper BCA 304, that is Introduction System Programming and Introduction to Microprocessor. In last session we have discussed about 8085 microprocessor assembly language, and we have also discussed about assembler and how to execute 8085 microprocessor assembly language program using microprocessor kit and assembler, and what is advantage and disadvantage of both. In today's session we will learn about macro. What is macro? How to define macro? How to call macro? What is macro expansion is, and we will discuss about loader, which is very important system program, and we will also discuss about various loading schemes or loader schemes. So, these are the today's lectures topics. Now, let us start with macro. Now, first we define macro. So, what is macro? In order to relieve programmer from the need to repeat identical parts of his program, operating system provide macro processing facility, which allow programmers to define abbreviation for part of his program and to use these abbreviation in program so as to avoid repeated use of identical codes. In high level language, we write down subroutines or functions. Now, why we write down functions? To perform certain tasks or task which is frequently required, we write that part as a function and then we call that function in main function or any other function in order to use it. So, in high level language, user defined functions provides reusability. Similarly, in assembly language program, macro provides reusability, but there is a difference between function and macro. Now, what is that difference? That we will understand shortly, but till now you can understand that macro is used to eliminate some repetitive task that is required inside your assembly language program. So, basically macro provides reusability and it can be called in your program, like we call functions inside high level language. Now, what is macro call is? Generally we call user defined function inside high level language or in main program. Here the macro processor treats abbreviation as a macro definition. So, every macro has a certain name, and whenever you write that name, which may have parameter also in your program, that is known as a macro call. Macro call in terms of programming means to write macro name and any parameter it takes inside program. The macro processor substitutes definition for all occurrence of abbreviation in program. Such abbreviation are called macro calls. Now, here is the difference comes between user defined function and macro. In case of user defined function, program transfers its execution at the beginning of user defined function. but in case of macro, whatever code it represent is inserted at the place of macro call. Now, at runtime or at the time of execution. In program we just write down macro name, but when that program get executes and whenever assembler encounters macro call or macro name, it substitutes whatever code inside definition of macro at that place, and such abbreviation or macro name encountered in program is called macro call. So, I hope you have clear idea about macro. First, it is used to eliminate repeated code with its name, macro name, and secondly, when actual program executes, that macro name is substituted with whatever code it represents. So, this is how macro works. Now, what are the uses of macro? The first use is we can give name to some repeated code and we can substitute whenever program get executes. What are the other uses are? The macro processor are also used as a general text handler and for specializing operating system to individual computer installation. To specialize an operating system, series of macro call are written and these are processed by the macro processor by substituting appropriate definition, thereby producing all the program for an operating system. Macro is the simplest form of abbreviation for sequence of operations. Now, what does it mean? Operating system make extensive use of macros. It handles by macro processor like assembly language program is handled by assembler. So, macro processor is responsible for macro call and macro expansion. Now, what is the requirement for a macro? So, here is an example. Here if you see this program, A1 data means add content of data to register 1 is for example, one code in assembly language program. Second code is A2 data means we want to add content of data to register 2. Similarly, we want to add content of data to register 3 and there are certain n number of statement between these, but these 3 lines you can found at the bottom also. So, this sequence occurs twice, it may occur thrice, four times, fifth time, any number n number of times. So, using macro allows us to assign name to sequence. This is sequence which repeated, we can assign name to this sequence is a macro, and to use that name in its macro facility permits to assign name to this sequence and to use this name in its place. So, instead of writing 3 line every time, what I can do is I can assign name or macro name to these 3 lines, and when instead of these 3 line I just write down that macro name, and it is the responsibility of macro processor to substitute these 3 lines at the place of macro. So, now you can visualize that our code length is drastically reduced, because now instead of 6 line we just write down 2 lines which is nothing but macro name. So, your program length is reduced, but remember when your program get executed, these 3 lines are there in your object code. So, we can say that source code length is reduced, but the object code length may be increased or as it is without using macro. So, it does not affect object program, but it reduces the length of your source program. Now, let us see how to write macro. So, we have syntax for writing macro. Every macro start with keyword macro. So, macro is the keyword that you need to specify to define macro. So, first we write down macro, second is macro name. So, you can see here we need to write down macro name, which is appropriate for representing sequence of code that you define inside macro. So, appropriate name should be there of macro, and you can even provide parameters to macro also. Now, next line is the body of macro or actual statement that you want to define inside macro, you write down after macro name. So, here this is a statements that you want to define inside macro or body of macro. Now, when you want to end macro definition, you just need to write down MND or MEND, which denotes macro ends here. So, at the beginning we write down macro, at the end we write down MEND. So, this is how we can define macro. Now, let us take one example so that you can better understand how these macro works. Now, here is the definition of macro. So, here I write down macro, which denotes the starting of macro, then comes the name of macro. So, INCR is the name of our macro. Here I write down 3 lines, that is repeated every time, and in the last I write down MEND. So, this is called macro definition. These box represent macro definition. Now, this is our source program. Here I write down INCR, then some statements, and at end I also write down INCR. So, wherever I want to replace these 3 lines, I need to write down its name. So, here I write down INCR, at the bottom of also I write down INCR. But now, when these program get executed, it replaces macro name with its body. So, here instead of INCR you can see expanded source code, and at the bottom there is also expansion. So, the process of replacement of macro body with its name is called expanding the macro. The macro definition does not appear in the expanded source code. This definition is saved by macro processor, and as the macro name occurs in the source program, it has to be expanded and the process is called macro call. So, wherever macro is called, it is replaced by its code. So, this is known as a macro expansion. This is called macro call, this is called macro definition, and this is called macro expansion. So, I hope you understand what is macro, what is use of macro, how to define macro, how to call macro, and how macro expansion take place at runtime. Now, let us check your progress. So, here is a 2 exercise. For example, first exercise tell if the instruction are repeating in the program, then dash k is used to lower the length of such program. So, procedure, subroutine, macro, or none of these. So, in case of assembly language program, we can use macro to lower the length of such program. So, C is the right answer. Here in programming, the macro present inside the macro is known as a dash. So, macro in macro, nested macro, macro inside macro, or none of the above. So, right answer is nested macro. You can have nesting of macro allowed in assembly language program. So, inside one macro you can write down another macro. So, this is known as a nesting of macro. Now, let us start another system programming component, very important component called loader. So, what assembler does? It converts your assembly language program into machine code, but it may include some data and references in memory. So, now let us try to understand what loaders do. So, the user program which normally gets converted to object program or machine language by assembler, compilers or interpreter, whether you are using high level language, assembly language or machine language. Ultimately, you need to convert that program into machine language. Loader is a program which accepts object program, prepares them for execution by the processor and initiate the execution. So, the basic responsibility of loader is to load your machine code or object code into memory and ready it for execution. So, this is the primary job of loader is. Now, let us look at some general working of loader. So, this is called general loading scheme. Here A and B are object code or it is a machine language code. Now, loader reads that object code and place inside memory to so that it can be executed. So, there are basically 4 functions performed by loader. The first is allocate space in memory for the program. We need to store these AB inside memory. So, the first job is memory allocation as per requirement. So, the first job is allocation. Second job, resolve symbolic references between object, desk or linking. Say, for example, my particular data is stored in particular memory address. So, loader need to fetch that data for execution. So, it requires, this is known as a linking. Third is adjust all address dependent locations such as address constant to respond to allocated space reallocation. Say, in program I specify initial address as 200 or 2000, but if loader allocate memory with address beginning 5000. So, every instruction should be relocated from 2000 to 5000 in whatever order is specified in your source program. So, this is known as a relocation. And finally, physically place the machine instruction and data into the memory, so that it can be executed without any problem. So, there are mainly 4 functions performed by any loader. The first is allocation, second is linking, third is relocation and fourth is execution or loading. So, these are the 4 functions performed by loader. Now, let us look at various loading scheme or types of loaders. So, loader schemes, it is nothing but different ways of loading your program. The first is a compile and go loader, second is general loader scheme that we have just described, absolute loader, and last direct linking loader. Now, let us try to elaborate each of these in detail. So, we beginning with compile and go loader. So, in this scheme, the assembler runs in the part of memory. The assembled machine instruction and data are placed directly in the assigned memory locations, and when the assembly get completed, the assembler causes a transfer to starting instruction of the program, and this is the simple solution involving no extra procedure. It is the advantage of that, and such a loading scheme is commonly called compile and go or assemble and go loading scheme. Assembler is inside memory. So, you need not to change or relocate. So, this is called compile and go scheme. Now, this is a shown in figure. There is a source program, there is a compile and go translator, and program is loaded in memory, and assembler is also inside memory. So, assembler just place code into core, and loader comprises one instruction which transfer to the starting instruction of the newly assembled program. So, here whatever position is there, assembler just begin starting from that, loader start executing from that locations. So, it need not to perform relocation or any other task. So, this is a simple scheme and it is known as a go and load scheme. Now, what is disadvantage? Portion of memory is wasted because the core occupied assembler is unavailable to object program. Here you can see there is a gap between assembler and program. So, memory is wasted, portion of memory is wasted rather. It is required to retranslate user's program every time during its run, and it is very difficult to handle multiple segments, especially if the source program are in different languages. So, these are the some of the disadvantage of compile and go loader. Now, we have already discussed the general loading scheme. So, this is a source program which may generate different object program which may be need to link and load by the loader. So, we have already discussed this scheme. Here the outputting of instruction and data as they are assembled circumvent the problem of wasting core of the assembler. That type of an output could be saved and loaded whenever code has to be executed. The assembled program could be loaded in the same area in core that assembler occupied, and the use of object deck as intermediary data to avoid one disadvantage of preceding compiler and go scheme require addition of new program to system a loader. So, this is a loader scheme. Now, what is function of loader is to allow machine instruction, data and useful information in shape of object layout and keeps the instruction and data in the center of an executable structure. It is found that more memory can be stored in the loader as it is smaller as compared to assembler, and with the help of linkage conventions we can write subroutines in many different language for further action by loader in machine language. So, this is all about general loading scheme. The next is absolute loader. Such loader is simple and carries general model of loader structure. Here the assembler will generate and output same as compiler and go loader generate. The machine language translation of source program will be shown by the assembler. As absolute loader means whatever memory address assigned by assembler will be used by loader. But what is disadvantages? Let us look at one by one. In these, programmer need to show the location address to load the program, because we know that loader will use same address whatever is specified by programmer. The multiple subroutine will make them hard to relocate further. Say if I specify some memory address, but that some other program may have occupied that, so it is difficult. Programmer has to remember the address of each subroutine and use that absolute address explicitly in another subroutine to perform subroutine linkage. Because we have fixed each and every memory address, it is responsibility of program to remember all the address of subroutine that is used by the programmer inside his program, and if it is wrong, then program execution may be wrong. So, this is the disadvantage. Now, how this works? So, this is a object program. Now, if these specifies, main specifies at location 100 to 248. So, it is always stored there, and if these object program specify address 400 to 478, it is always stored there. Loader is not changing these addresses. So, it is now responsibility of programmer to specify address that does not clash with each other or in memory. So, this is a absolute loading scheme. Now, let us look at last scheme. Now, these are the functions of absolute loader, but here allocation is done by programmer, linking is also done by programmer, relocation if required is done by assembler, and loading is only done by loader. So, these four functions is performed by whom is specified in the slide. Only loading is done by loader. First two task is done by programmer, third task is done by assembler. Now, the last type of loading scheme is direct linking loaders. So, it is a normal type of relocatable loader which use famous loading scheme. It makes the programmer to work with multiple procedure and data segments, and these type linking loader will feasibly allow programmer to work with in referencing data or instruction, thereby allowing flexible inter-segment referencing and accessing ability with the standalone program execution. Here we can say it performs all the tasks which is we specify in general loading scheme, and it is a flexible also. So, the information provided to the loader by assembler is length of segment, a list of all symbols in segment that may be referenced by the other segment and their relative location with the segment, list of symbols not defined in the segment but referenced in the segment, and information regarding the location of the constant in the segment and description of how to resolve them, the machine code translation of source program and the relative address assigned. So, assembler provide each and every information to the loader, and loader can use this information to relocate program and multiple segments without any difficulty. Now, let us try to conclude. Let us conclude what we have learned today. In today's session, we have discussed about what is macro, what are the uses of macro, what is macro call, what is macro expansion, and we have discussed what is loader, what are the functions performed by loader, and what are the different types of loading schemes are. I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you and happy learning.
यहाँ पर